You've been working hard on making your narrative into a piece of writing that someone would want to read. You've added a hook to get your readers interested, and you've added sensory details to really make your story pop. You're getting closer to your goal of an awesome narrative, but there's something else you need to consider. Most personal narratives include dialogue, which is the academic way to say that characters speak in your story. Dialogue helps bring that realistic element into your stories and helps the reader relate even more to what's going on in your narrative. It's difficult to tell a good story without dialogue. Otherwise, the readers just have to imagine or infer the conversations that went on in your story.
Let you know our topic today. Let's go ahead and start. We're going to give your paper life by adding dialogue. Dialogue is a conversation between two or more people as featured in a book, a movie, or a play. You show what someone is exactly saying by using quotation marks. And that lets us know those are their exact words. So, for example, quote, "I love Scooby-Doo," quote, explained Mary. "Yes, it's the best," said Bob. Those are the words that they actually said. Key rules to note. You need to keep commas and periods inside the quotation marks. So as you can see here, "I do not know," comma, quotation mark. Those punctuations need to go inside. "Yelled Albert," period. Now that can always stay out. Now here again, "Albert yelled," comma, that stays out, but then down here the period goes inside. An uninterrupted speech needs quotation marks only at the beginning and the end. You don't have to put them after every line, okay? So if it's a longer quote that someone's like telling a story or something, you just need one set of quotes at the beginning and the end. Here is where you will need to really pay attention. You are going to start a new paragraph each time the speaker changes in your dialogue in your story. So let's say that Mary and Fred are having a conversation in your story. "You can be so cruel sometimes," Mary wailed as she watched Fred steal her last piece of candy. As you can see there, that's indented to show a new paragraph. Now, Fred is going to speak, so I have to indent again and make another new paragraph. I cannot just continue it right here. I have to press enter and tab over for the next speaker. So, quote, "Oh, I suppose you'll go crying and tell your mother now," Fred sighed. Again, this is where Mary starts. So then I tab over again. "No, I'm going to tell Dad," sobbed Mary. When only two people are talking, you don't have to keep using their names because sometimes that gets really repetitive. So if you just have a simple dialogue between two people, "I understand how you feel, all right? You do? Ah, you know I do." So this is obviously between two people, and you would want to say it at first, but maybe then towards the middle you can lay off and not have to say "said Mary," "said Joe," "said Mary," "said Joe." Now, I'm going to show you two videos that are great ways to help you enter dialogue into your paper. So first way to give your paper life is to just use dialogue by describing events. So let's take a look.
Writers use dialogue to provide additional information in a story. Let's practice adding dialogue to describe action. Please have your Learn Zillion practice sheet in front of you because you will need it during this lesson.
Don't worry about it.
Before we begin, let's review a few things. Dialogue is a conversation between two or more people. Here is an example. "Can we get a puppy?" asked the little girl. "Not today, maybe another time," her father smiled. Dialogue is made up of two parts, the quote and the tag. The quote is what the character is actually saying. A quote goes inside quotation marks. A tag lets the reader know who is talking and what he is doing or feeling. Here's part of a story I've been working on. Just before this section of my story, Brenda, my main character, has found a kitten in a small drain and is returning with supplies to get him out. Once Brenda heard the kitten again, he quieted down, expecting her to help him. She put the broom handle down the drain. Brenda hoped the kitten would climb up and out on its own. The kitten did not even try. It just mewed. Brenda then wrapped a towel around the broom handle to give the kitten something to hang on to. Then she placed some cat food a little way up the towel. It worked. The little kitten was so hungry it climbed up to the food, and then she pulled it out the rest of the way. I realize I have no dialogue in my story. I know that there is only one character, but people talk to their pets all the time. I can add in dialogue to help the reader better understand what Brenda is doing. As I think about this sentence, I realize that Brenda would probably talk to the kitten, and the kitten would quiet down after hearing her. Will it help my reader to understand the character and the actions if I include dialogue? Yes, so I want to imagine the scene. This woman is walking towards a drain with a kitten meowing. When she gets close, she tries to soothe the kitten with her voice. She might say, "It's okay, little one, I'm back." What else could she say? What is it that she is trying to do for the kitten? She is trying to rescue him. Your job is to write a short sentence explaining Brenda's plan on the practice sheet. Pause the video. After following the directions, press play again. How did you do? Did you write something like this? I'll get you out. Just make sure your sentence includes something about rescuing the kitten, getting him out, or freeing him. This next section is Brenda's first attempt to get the kitten out of the drain. Will it help my reader to understand the character and the action if I include dialogue? Yes. So let's change this description into dialogue for Brenda to say. Since she is by herself with the kitten, she is probably talking to it. This sentence could be completely changed into her telling the kitten what she is doing. Why is she putting the broom handle down the drain? Well, it's wooden and not slippery like the drain, so she's hoping he will climb up it. Your job on the practice sheet is to change this sentence into dialogue for Brenda. Remember to include what she wants the kitten to do with the broom handle. Pause the video. When you have finished following the instructions, press play again. Here is my version. Little one, climb up the broom handle. You can do it. Did you do that? Do you have Brenda telling the kitten to climb up the broom handle? That's what's important. I also added some words of encouragement for the kitten, thinking this woman would probably do that. This is the section revised. She put the broom handle down the drain. Little one, climb up the broom handle. You can do it. The kitten did not even try. It just meowed. Will it help my reader to understand the character and the action if I include more dialogue? It will. So let's add some more dialogue. Remember that her ultimate goal is to get the kitten out and to help it. How would Brenda say that? How could we get her to say that and to help our reader understand the story better? Your job on the practice sheet is to write some additional dialogue to include the ultimate goal. Pause the video.
Okay, so I think you guys kind of understand and see where she's going with this. So now you just need to find spots in your own writing where you can also apply the same skills. Now, that's describing events. The other way to give dialogue to your paper is between two characters. So we're going to watch.
In this lesson, you will answer the question, how can I bring drafts of my writing to life? In this lesson, you will learn how to make your story more interesting by adding dialogue. But first, let's review the 5 steps of the writing process. First step is understanding the question in a prompt. The second step is brainstorming ideas that you will write about. The third step is making a plan. The fourth step is writing the sentences to your story. And the fifth and final step is revising your work. In this lesson, we're going to be focusing in this 5th step of revising. So, a common mistake that writers often make when they put dialogue into stories, they're not using quotation marks. So here we have an example. Hey, that's my lunch, Sasha yelled. There are no quotation marks. You need to remember to go back through and add them in if they were forgotten. So here before the word hey and after the word lunch, we've gone back through and added some quotation. In this lesson, we're going to go through the following steps. 1. Look for places when characters are talking. 2. Write down exactly what the character said. And 3. Put it in quotation marks. So In this lesson, we're going to use the following writing excerpt. It's responding to a prompt about a cafeteria surprise. The principal has come into the classroom and announced there's a surprise in the cafeteria, and my job in this story was to write a story that tells what happens next. And here's the beginning of that story. The principal quietly came into our classroom to tell us there was a surprise in the cafeteria. We lined up, and our teacher, with a wide smile on her face, led us to the cafeteria. Rosie, waving her hand wildly, asked what the surprise was. First, the teacher was quiet. Next, she stopped to tell us that the President of the United States was visiting us today. Wow. So who do we have talking in this story? Well, we have the principal telling us there's a surprise. We have Rosie asking what the surprise was, and we have the teacher who stops to tell us about the surprise. In this example, I'm going to provide a dialogue for the principal, and I encourage you on your own to go back through and think about what the dialogue might be for Rosie and the teacher. So I'm thinking, okay, the principal quietly came into our classroom to tell us there was a surprise in the cafeteria. And I'm thinking, what would my principal really come in and say? What would that sound like? And I'm going to go ahead and add that piece to my story. So here we go. I've added, boys and girls, there is a special guest waiting for you in the cafeteria. I think that's something my principal would say, so that's how I've chosen to write her lines here. Okay, boys and girls, there is a special guest waiting for you in the cafeteria. But I'm not done yet. There's a third step. I need to make sure I add quotation marks to the beginning and the end of the direct quotation of what the person is saying, of the dialogue. So before boys and after cafeteria, I've gone back in and added my quotations. So again, in this lesson, we've gone through 3 steps. First, look for places when characters are talking. Second, write down exactly what the character said. And third, put it in quotation marks. In this lesson, you have learned how to make your story more interesting by adding.
Okay, now you know everything you need to go add dialogue to your paper. So it's your turn. Your narrative must contain meaningful dialogue that adds to your story. You can't just insert it somewhere randomly. You need to make sure it's meaningful. Review any dialogue you already have included to make sure it follows the rules that we've talked about, and add more dialogue to give your paper life. If your paper doesn't include any dialogue, you need to add it now. Good luck!